Have you ever felt like your mind is working against you? Well, I know that feeling all too well. In this episode, I'm sharing my personal journey from struggling with OCD in my teens to actually earning a psychology degree at 43. We'll dive into the tools that help me to turn things around, like mindfulness, acceptance commitment therapy, exposure, and even the Wim Hof method. If you're battling your own mental health challenges or looking for ways to thrive despite them, then this one's for you. So let's get into it. Hello and welcome to episode 433. This one is especially personal for me. My journey through OCD has been full of challenges, setbacks, and fortunately breakthroughs. But I'm hoping that by sharing my story, I can inspire others who might be facing similar struggles. Here is a quote to kind of get us started. True life is lived when tiny changes occur. And that's by Leo Tolstoy. Now, back when I was really struggling with OCD, I wouldn't have resonated with that quote at all. I was really fixated on fixing myself, getting rid of my difficult thoughts, getting rid of anxiety as soon as possible. I didn't realize at all that true change involves focusing in on changing little things each day, and with persistence and determination, they really do add up over time. OCD was something that I battled for years, and it felt like it had really taken over my life at times. But here I am now on the other side, having learned to manage it, but also turning that struggle into something positive. I went and did the unthinkable. I got a psychology degree. I'm officially qualified to analyze all my bad decisions, like deciding to take exams at 43 when my back really hurts from sitting at a desk for more than 20 seconds at a time. Who thought that was a good idea? Yeah, that's right, me. Now, I can proudly say I'm a psychology graduate with a solid understanding of human behaviour and absolutely no understanding at all of how to balance work, school and my social life. Seriously, I've mastered my brain, but I still haven't figured out how to stop procrastinating until the night before an assignment is due. Priorities, right? So it all started for me when I was just 16. That was a really dark time. It felt like my mind had turned into this endless maze, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find my way back out. My thoughts were endlessly racing with one intrusive idea after another, and the more I tried to actually escape, the more lost I became. It was exhausting mentally and physically. Every single step I took in my mind, it just led me much deeper into that maze with no exit in sight. I had a combination of physical and mental compulsions, some physical rituals that involved checking, but the majority of my compulsions were actually going on here in the head. I really felt withdrawn at that time from the people in my life, as my thoughts and urgent need for certainty about my fears constantly drew me into the OCD trap. Like a boxer that is desperately trying to defend himself from a much bigger and stronger opponent, I was stumbling my way through life, desperately trying to kind of hold my hands up and defend myself from the next inevitable attack that I knew was coming my way very soon. As I got into my 20s, everyone was talking about what an amazing age that is and how I should be happy, yay, and enjoy it. And I would nod my head whilst silently grimacing to myself. If only they could know what was actually going on inside my head. I looked for help, of course, but couldn't seem to find answers. It felt like I was constantly at war with my own mind. Everything had to be done in a certain way, or my brain would convince me that something terrible would happen. And I didn't understand why. I'd lose hours of my day stuck in these rituals or spirals of intrusive thoughts. And I couldn't explain it to anyone. The worst part was that it all felt so irrational, but at the same time, completely and utterly uncontrollable. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't just stop. It was like trying to outrun your own shadow. No matter what I did, those thoughts were always right there with me. And I had no idea that what was actually going on was I was struggling with OCD. I remember it very, very clearly. 3 days after my 30th birthday, I finally got the answer I'd been looking for: OCD. I can't even begin to explain the relief I felt after spending years and years feeling like something was wrong with me, like I was really kind of broken, and then to suddenly know that there was a name for what I'd been going through. For the first time, I actually realized I wasn't alone, and there was a reason behind the endless loops of intrusive thoughts and compulsive behaviors. It wasn't that I was failing at controlling my mind. It was that I'd been trying to fight something that I didn't really understand. And when I actually realized that it was OCD, it was like a weight had been lifted. There was finally a kind of path forward. I wasn't lost anymore. I could start finding my way out of this maze that I'd been stuck in for so long. And after realizing I had OCD, I began exploring different ways to manage it. And that's when everything started to really change for me. I learned about the work of John Kabat-Zinn and mindfulness, which really taught me how to observe my thoughts rather than getting lost in them. And for the first time, I realized that just because a thought enters my mind, it doesn't mean that I have to follow that thought and figure it all out. Learning to be present even when my mind was trying to kind of pull me away all the time was like taking back control inch by inch. I learned about the work of Jeffrey Schwartz, an OCD treatment pioneer who in his book The Mind and the Brain explores the concept of neuroplasticity, something which gave me the confidence that despite years of thinking in this obsessive way, I really could change by learning new habits and responding to my intrusive thoughts in a different way. I could literally change my brain. Then there was exposure response prevention, or ERP. It was uncomfortable to say the least, but it really was a game changer. By exposing myself to my fears and resisting the urges to respond with compulsions, I gradually, little by little, started to break free from the cycle. It was really tough, honestly. It felt like, retraining my brain. But over time, I began to see that my fears weren't so powerful as I had always believed. And then there's acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, which taught me how to live alongside my OCD without letting it dictate my life. Instead of trying to fight or avoid uncomfortable thoughts and feelings, I learned to accept them for what they are, which is just thoughts and feelings. ACT gave me the tools to focus on what really matters to me and to take action towards my goals, even with the OCD tagging along for the ride. And then more recently, the Wim Hof method, learning the breathing techniques and the cold exposure, the ice baths when you do it in a safe way, helped me enormously. It brought me a sense of calm and resilience that I hadn't felt in years. The combination of mindfulness, ERP, ACT, and the Wim Hof method didn't just help me to manage OCD, it turned my life around. And these practices gave me back the control I'd been missing for so long. They didn't cure OCD, but they equipped me with the strength and the tools to live a more meaningful and full life, despite OCD. And for that, I am forever grateful. With everything I've learned about OCD and these techniques, I realized I wanted to share my experiences with others. And that's when I decided to start this podcast. I knew there was so many people out there who, like me, might feel trapped, confused, or alone in their struggles. And my goal was to create a space where we could openly talk about mental health, break down the stigma, and share practical tools for dealing with the challenges of OCD. I started to work as a coach as I found that my own experiences with OCD gave me a kind of unique perspective and empathy that made me effective in guiding others. Coaching allowed me to give back and to offer hope to people who felt the way I once did. But I wasn't done just yet. I wanted to take things a step further, to dive even deeper into the science of the mind. And that's when I decided to pursue a psychology degree. Going back to school at 43 was a big decision. And let's just say, with one baby at home already and another on the way next month, it came with a lot of coffee and 5 a.m. starts. But just recently, I finally completed that degree, and I can't tell you how fulfilling it feels to have achieved something that I never thought was possible during those years when I was really struggling with OCD, when it controlled my life. So here I am, someone who once felt completely lost in my own thoughts, now standing on the other side as a psychology graduate, a coach, and a podcaster. It's been a long road, and it's not always been easy, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's that your story doesn't end where your struggle begins. You have the power to change the narrative, to take what feels like chaos and turn it into something really meaningful. So there we go. I really hope that you found that helpful. And if you have any questions at all, do please let me know. Also, if you could subscribe, I would really appreciate that. Whether you're struggling with OCD or another mental health challenge, or simply looking for a way to move forward in your life, know that change is possible. It's never too late to rewrite your story. If my journey with OCD can offer you even a glimmer of hope or inspiration, then that's more than I could have ever wished for.
This video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you are dealing with OCD, anxiety, or any mental health concerns, please consult a licensed mental health professional for support.